With your paper oriented vertically like this, you are ready to set up a grid to draw Reeko Mortis Zombie. We're going to use a 1.5 inch grid, and so the measurements for that grid are right here, as you can see. And let's go ahead and start those right here in this upper left-hand corner of our paper. And let's go down the side like this, making a mark at each of these measurements ever so carefully. And remembering, don't move your ruler once it's in position. Okay, so I'm going to line up carefully like this, holding my ruler so it doesn't slip on me. And I want to make my marks. Alright, here I go. So there's 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, 10.5. Then I'm going to move my ruler. Now, of course, I want to do the same thing down this right side. So upper right-hand corner is where I want to start my measurements. I like to take my ruler and then move it so there's just a little strip of paper sticking out to the right, a really skinny strip of paper. That's what I want to do here. So I've got my ruler lined up, and once again, same measurements. So I'll go 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, 10.5. And I'll move my ruler. Now, we've taken notes on the grid system, and you recall that the grid is a temporary device. We will need to erase it later. So if we know we're going to erase something, it would be wise to do it as light as possible. So let's start here with our first two marks, our 1.5 inch marks. Line those up, hold your ruler firmly, drawing from left to right. Don't press hard, just a nice light line. Okay, 3 inch marks, lined up, and drawing from left to right across your paper. 4.5 inch marks, lined up carefully, and drawing once again. There we go. 6 inch marks, they're lined up right there. And I'm going to draw once again left to right. Okay, 7.5 inch marks. Drawing that nice light line, which we will erase later. 9 inch marks. Lined up and connected very lightly. And finally, 10.5 inch marks. And I'll line those up and connect as well. Okay, so that divides our paper into these equal spaces, as you can see. Now, you know we're making a grid of squares, and so we want to use the same measurements. So we're going to use this same list that you're seeing right here, except these last two, we will not be using those. Okay, so back I go to my upper left-hand corner, and I want to go across the top with these measurements. Once again, I won't be using the last two. Now I like to put my paper, or my ruler rather, right there near the top of my paper, leaving a small skinny strip right above my ruler. And I'll make those marks. 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5. Okay, coming down here to the lower left corner, I'm going to go across the bottom, the same list of measurements. Okay, I'll let your ruler slip on you. And let's go 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5. All right, let's line those up and connect them top to bottom. So I'll start with my 1.5 inch marks, holding my ruler firmly, drawing from the top of my paper to the bottom with a nice vertical line. 3 inch marks, lined up carefully. Hold that ruler firmly, drawing from the top to the bottom with a very light line. 4.5 inch marks, lined up. Once again, don't let your ruler slip. I like to hold my ruler with my left hand like that. And I'm drawing top to bottom, as you can see. Okay, 6 inch marks, lined up carefully, holding my ruler and drawing top to bottom, like that. And finally, 7.5 inch marks lined up, and I'll draw from the top to the bottom. Okay. So now our piece of 9 by 12 paper is covered with a grid of squares. If we've done it correctly, every single square of our grid, each one is the same size. 1.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches tall. Let's go ahead and get our name on our paper here. We're not going to need a title, but I do need your name. So if you'll come down here to this grid square in the lower right hand corner, and if you will give me 3 pieces of information: first name, last name, and class period. And once you have that, you are ready for a grid drawing of Reeko Mortis Zombie.